Today we're going to be looking at 3D scanning this chair with Creaform's GoScan Spark. So we're starting up VX Elements. In the Start menu we have a few options like Basic Guided Workflow or Small Part Guided Workflow, but we're just going to use the standard workflow. Over on the right is the hardware, so we can do a calibration if we needed to, or we could look at how we want to track the object. So we're going to use targets, geometry, and texture, or actually in this case we're not actually going to use any targets, we're just using geometry and texture. On the left here we've got Smart Resolution. This is a new feature in VX Elements 9, and what it does is it allows us to have high res in the areas we need it. We're going to acquire the texture, and we can do some pre-processing like auto decimate the mesh, putting bigger triangles where we need it and leaving the small ones on the detail that we need. Okay, so after we've checked those settings, we're good to go. So hit Start Scan and tap the Start button on the side of the scanner, and it just starts to acquire the data. You can see automatically it's picked up the shape of the object and it's tracking it by geometry. There's no targets on the actual chair itself. If you pause it for a second, you can then tap the Start button again and it will just resume based on geometry. So it's not an extra scan, it's still just one scan. Creaform scanners only ever create a single surface mesh when you scan, which is really useful for post-processing. It definitely speeds up that part of the workflow. So the GoScan Spark, you can see it's got green lines and blue lines, so that's just your distance meter in red. If you're too close it goes red, too far away it goes blue, and green's kind of like the optimal distance to be away from the part. And we just need to work all around the part or the chair until we get everything that we need. So to transition below it, we obviously want to look at some common geometry and then just try and work our way underneath the chair. It's just a good workflow if you could start in the middle and kind of work out to the outside edges. And with the new VX Elements 9 with that Smart Res, you can see we've got a bit of a hybrid of like the colored object and gold. So once you collect enough data, the gold color is replaced with the actual texture color, and that means that you've got like the maximum resolution for that area, or for the settings that you've used anyway. So we set the resolution at 1mm to start scanning. But since we might be looking at higher res, we need to ensure that we're capturing all the data we can, so making that golden color go just the standard normal color of the chair. So if I lose track, I just go back to some common geometry and just carry on scanning. There's some domes on the back of the chair that are very shiny, so it isn't collecting those as well. But if you really needed to collect them, you could use a 3D scanning spray like A-Sub Blue 3D scanning spray, which we can also sell. So we're just ensuring that we haven't missed anywhere. Again, at any time I could pause the scan and have a look, and just spin it around, see what areas you may need. If you need anything, just carry on. You can just resume from some common geometry. So it's always good to go from a larger surface area, like to resume from, rather than maybe just like the skinny leg. More geometry, the better for tracking. The great thing is with Creaform scanners is that if you had quite a thin object and you just could not track it because there wasn't enough geometry, we can also use targets as well. And by using targets, it's a very accurate way of linking the scans or each surface patch together. So I'm just going to go underneath here and just try and get that rear leg that's now blue. Just want to ensure that I've collected that all correctly. So just have one quick look around to see if they've missed anywhere, and yep, just one more area underneath the on the front right leg. So we'll just grab the scanner again, tap the start button again, resume from some common geometry, and then work your way down the front of the leg. There we go. And just one last little sweep around the object just to make sure that I haven't missed anywhere. And again, even though I was losing track there a little bit, it didn't collect any additional data once it re-locked onto the part or the chair. It was able to continue scanning. Okay, so we're looking pretty good there. So we're just going to stop the scan, and instantly we get a very accurate preview of the final result. So you can hit save at this point and your job's done. Go back to the office and do the post-processing. But we're just going to show you a little bit of post-processing here in VX Elements. So I can select everything, and there's a new tool called Keep Only Selected. So this was just to speed up the workflow of selecting something, reversing the selection, and then deleting. Now we can just select and then just keep what we want to keep what is selected. And we're just trying to get rid of some floating noise. Next, I could add a clipping plane, and there's a tool called Remove Background. I just clicked on that, and it automatically found the flattest surface in the scene. And I'm just going to offset that surface upwards until it cuts through the legs of the chair. Once you've done that, you can hit Create, and it will actually clip away the floor. Then you can just decide whether or not you want to finalize the scan immediately after applying or manually for later, because you may want to do some other checks before finalizing. So I'm just going to go manually, and it just temporarily deletes the texture, but at least we can have a look at it now without the texture on. And down the bottom here we've got auto fill holes, so we do have some fill hole capabilities in VX Elements, but if you want to do more mesh editing, you'll probably want to look at using a post-processing tool like VX Model. So now you've got finalize with texture, finalize without texture. So we're going to use with texture, so click finalize, and that's now going to update the scan. This will output your final mesh. So everything we were doing is kind of like pre-finalization. But again, at any time with Creaform's software and scanners, we can start the scan again and collect more data. We don't have to start a brand new scan again and then try and merge that second scan into the existing scans. We can actually resume where we left off and just keep collecting and collecting data. So it's quite an efficient way of capturing objects. So the finalizing takes a little bit of time. It's nothing compared to, trying to do this manually. And you can see we've spent only 9 minutes so far collecting this chair, and to 3D model it manually again would take a very long time. So 3D scanning is definitely designed to speed the capture rate or the measuring process. And now the final step is just to apply the texture. And it's done. So just having a quick look over the chair. There's a few holes left, but they can be filled up in other software. But it did an okay job of most of the domes, and then there's a few holes there as well. But you'd probably be inclined to create your own domes and your own software. But it definitely did a fantastic job of the seams on the chair. You can see there's a lot of good detail on those seams. So the smart res, if we now check out the structure of the triangles, you can see around the seams, it's larger triangles. On the seams, we've got quite fine triangles. So it just really has kind of revolutionized the way that we can capture data now with smart resolution of VX Elements 9. And again, if we just turn off the texture, just to look at the raw geometry, it's one single surface mesh. We can turn on the perspective. You can capture in perspective. In fact, it actually captures better in perspective. But the detail is fantastic. So thanks for watching. This is a quick demo using Creaform's Ghost Scan Spark. Any questions, feel free to contact us. Thank you.